So what are the best ways to cope with the fear and anxiety that comes with having a loved one in treatment?
One of the best ways to cope is to have those open conversations. Unfortunately, it's human nature. When we get hurt, we want to close down, and it's a defense mechanism to keep us in the illusion of I'm protected. So by having those uncomfortable conversations, it allows us to explore together. So I'm sure there's a psychobabble term for it. I don't know what to call it. I call it external processing. What I've learned is when I start thinking out loud and kind of inviting a person into my thought process and we stumble through it together, there's a lot of grace and there's room for open interpretation, but it's a dialogue. So here's what I mean by that. So if I'm hesitant because of something that happened in the past, I don't want to just think of that and then project it on them. I want to be able to say, I notice I'm feeling a little bit of hesitation right now. And as I'm thinking this through, I'm noticing that I'm still pulling some of the things from the past to the present. And so let's have a conversation because I'm afraid. I'm noticing that I have fear because what happened in the past might happen again in the future. And I just want to have a dialogue with you. Where are you with that? Do you have this concern? And then when I can create a safe enough space that we're exploring together instead of, I can't ever trust you again because of what you did. Think about it. If there's blame, that triggers the guilt and the shame. That's where we live in a reactionary place. And I've never seen reactionary move to something positive. So that's why I love this concept of external processing to fumble through. So it's kind of like there's nothing off limits because we're exploring together. And then that's where if something does start to get a little bit triggered, we can always say, okay, this seems like a hot topic or a hot button. Let's write it down. Let's take a few minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, and then let's come back to visit this. Now, I've been taught this my entire life, never understood why, so I didn't do it. Until one time a therapist sat down and said, do you know why we say wait 10 to 12 minutes? When you feel your emotions shoot up, you got to take a step back. The reason why is it's just science. So the prefrontal cortex of the brain, this is where the rationalization, the logic happens, the problem solving. What happens is when we get triggered, the reptilian part of the brain, what happens is the blood leaves the prefrontal cortex, goes to the reptilian part, and it actually goes to your hands and your legs because it's why we're still here. It's I'm triggered, it's fight or flight. I'm about to die or I have to kill. That is the unconscious part. So when I recognize that, so if I'm getting in a heated debate, that part's been triggered, the logical part of the brain shuts down. So after 10 to 15 minutes, the blood goes back to the prefrontal cortex. Now we can look at it from a different perspective, a different angle. And actually, I believe, I don't know what week it is, but it's in the family program online. I actually run you through, it's called the heart math process. It's where you sync your heart to your brain. And studies have shown, so EKG is the heart, EEG is the brain waves. When you hook them up to the same person, they're all over the place. But there's actually something called heart math. Dr. Chodre is the one who actually discovered this, that through breathing through 2 to 4 minutes, it's called heart syncing, they actually come together. And the reason why that's important is because when they're in harmony, you are in this place of syncing your heart to your mind. That reptilian part of the brain, the fight or flight, isn't active anymore. And now we're in this place of actually problem solving. So it's a wonderful exercise when you find yourself triggered to get back to, that leads to massive improvement, communication, and
How can families address enabling behaviors and shift towards healthier support?
so this one can be a tough one of nobody loves saying, hey, I am enabling. And a lot of times we're not even sure of what enabling is. So a very archaic definition of enabling is either promoting or supporting any type of behavior that is damaging the relationship. So here's what I mean by that is, this actually just happened not too long ago. A person was still in their active addiction. And so the family continued to provide groceries and food because the mom, loving and coming from such a wonderful place in the heart, said, I don't want my son to starve. Unfortunately, what this does is it negatively reinforces they can continue to use because their basic human needs will still be taken care of. And so what happens is the parents or the family typically continue to take on the consequences because they were fighting for every dollar. And so resentment started to build of I'm spending money on food for them. They're not contributing. I'm trying to take care of the kids. And so that type of enabling, even though it sounds like it's coming from a loving place, which it is, it continues to reinforce that behavior. So when we say, how do we make sure we're not enabling? And what I'm about to do, is this going to continue to support their using? And if it's a yes, so that's where for phone calls or stopping by to say hi and to give them a hug and say, I love you so much. But then we also got to let them know, I'm hurting seeing you like this. I miss getting to connect with you. I want to have conversations where I feel seen and heard. Notice I'm not saying you don't see me. You're not listening. When I can change it to I, this helps eliminate the enabling, and I'm still able to speak my true authentic self of what I'm feeling and what it is that I'm eating.